The church. A buddy and I are avid hikers. We usually hike the Appalachian Trail in Virginia and North Carolina. We decided to hit the trail starting in Damascus, Virginia. We'd make a long weekend of it and see the beautiful sights of the mountains. We arrived in Damascus around 3 p.m. and decided to hit the trail to get some early sightseeing in. We go north and hike for about 5 miles and decide to soon find a site to lay our heads for the night. It's getting close to dark and we find a nice flat area to pitch our tents. We set up and start a fire and talk about our crazy times in high school. We break out the food and always have a celebratory bottle of mead that I get at a local brewery in Nelliesford, Virginia. We decide to go exploring before bedtime. We find an old logging or stagecoach road that hasn't been used in maybe 100 years. We shine our flashlights down the narrow passage while telling ghost stories, trying to scare one another. Woo! The ghost of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Woo! It's coming for you. We walk about 10 minutes and come to a clearing in the woods. We both look at each other because of what we see. An old Appalachian log cabin type of church and spooky graveyard. We decide to explore the old structure to see what maybe no one has seen in many decades. The church is old, maybe turn of the century. Hasn't been used in years. The graveyard has crude stones, and the oldest was from 1845, the most recent being 1939. We go to the door, and it's boarded up, but we see an old window that's broken and decide to look in. The inside is in better shape. Church pews, an old piano, and an old plain wooden type cross in front of the pulpit. The old place smells of mold and mildew, and we decide to head back to camp. It was a creepy old place, but I always wonder how it looked back in its heyday. We get to camp and lay down for the night. We're asleep for about an hour when something wakes me up. I hear distant music. I wake my buddy and ask him, "Do you hear that?" "Hear what?" he says. "That." We both listen in silence and he hears it too. Like a old-time band playing. We'd immediately think it's coming from the church we visited earlier. We get our gear and head back to see what could be causing it. We both have concealed carry license, and my buddy is carrying his 9mm and me my .357 Magnum. We usually carry up there because the mountain has bobcats, bears, and coyotes. We get to the church and hear the music getting louder. I turn on my phone recorder to record what we're hearing. All of a sudden it gets creepier. We hear more singing, like a whole congregation, singing to the Lord on a Sunday. We both look at each other in awe. Why and how are there people at this old abandoned church, singing in the night? The song stops as we get close and we hear a booming-voiced man start to preach.
Call your attention to the 8th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Luke and the 22nd verse. It came to pass on the certain day that he went out into a ship with his disciples and said unto them, "Let us go over on the other side of the lake."
We go up to the broken window we had seen before and both peek in at the same time. The voice stops and the church is what it was before. Empty. We look at each other and know exactly what we saw. We run faster than we ever ran, back to our campsite, pack up, and head back to our vehicle for the night. Goes to say there wasn't much sleep we had. We wake the next morning and quickly eat breakfast and resume the trail, south this time. As we're walking, my buddy says, "You know what we saw, don't you?" "Yeah, we saw a damn ghost congregation. I've never been so creeped out in my entire life. If you take the Appalachian Trail in Damascus, Virginia, and see a small abandoned log church, don't stay past dark."